Probably your predecessors.
Sure.
So, with your permission, I'll just make a short presentation. Very early, at the time when Gujarat had Mr. Modi as the Chief Minister, it was a year in which the concept of smart cities and finance city like that. So, we began in 2007, and it has been a long journey since then. Now the progress has picked up. So, the finance center, which would be the gateway for both inbound and outbound. India, as you know, consumes a lot of international financial services in terms of banking, capital markets and insurance, but we have been adding new products over time. So we have what is called the International Financial Services Act, which is the enabling act with any product or service as a financial service. So once it is designated, IFSC authority does the regulations, and then you have the benefits. Subsidy basically encourages investment from outside based on. So of late, new products have been added to the kitty of financial services and products. Setting up a foreign university. Ahmedabad is the historic city here. Gandhinagar is the modern capital of Gujarat. And Gift City is what PM calls the future city in the Tri-City concept. So located in terms of proximity to the airport, being placed on the national highway and near the capital, there is a notified area committee which takes care of the municipal functions. Now, and a township around it with walk-to-work concept, so that we have the green concept encouraged. So buildings are green, minimum use of transport so the carbon footprint is also smaller.
So how many?
Area, which is the business district area, we have a plan for 5,000 dwelling units already, which is outside the core CBD area.
But that's within that blue boundary, is that
That's
right?
within the blue boundary, the natural boundary with the river on the western side and the national highway on the eastern flank, and the bypass road on the northern side, and we have the will be the most modern infrastructure. Most of it is laid underground, so that there is no overground laying of utilities, and there are no heat island effects created. So it's a very modern infrastructure which has been done. Some of you may have seen it, others may not. We have a long way to go. So there are around 30 buildings which are coming up. So around 64 buildings will be ready in another 5 to 6 years, I would say, in phases. 30 are already under construction, 17 are already in operation, another 17 under planning. So as I mentioned, the infrastructure is state of the art in terms of all the utilities being run underground. It has a district cooling system so that you don't have that small heat island effect, so you will conserve distribution of power also. Then, as I mentioned, the development in 3 phases. One already occupied. Second, as I mentioned, is basically a finance and technology center. So, main first idea is to onshore the offshore, which is take the business which Indians consume abroad in terms of financial services, banking to the onshore. So discussing about game cities the next year. So, you learn through the
landing basically to the Indian do trade finance. They are also now into the capital market in terms of, and the committed investment from the foreign investor is now $19 billion. And similarly for insurance and stock exchanges, also we have two international stock exchanges operating 22 hours a day. The trading of Nifty, which was earlier traded on the Singapore Stock Exchange. So we now connect between Singapore Exchange and the GIFT NSE Exchange. The Nifty trading is now
The key institutions.
in the domestic zone. Some of the recent
Okay, wait, sir.
Sir, wait.
Wait.
One. आ जाइए सर.
Sir. Here, sir.
Yes, sir.
This boy over there. Come here.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. रुकिया.
No, last time I visited,
Yes.
go by the Tapan Bhai,
Yes.
he told me,
Yes.
was this is the place.
We'll show the video, which is a good way of talking about this site, which, as I said to colleagues, their contractors, but our educational expertise. So, first look. So as you see from the design, it's very similar to Australian, and that's been absolutely deliberate that this is a piece of Australia in city, so that the students feel they're getting not an identical experience, but an equivalent experience. It will be Deakin with an Indian flavour.
Deakin spirit will be here.
Deakin spirit will be here, but with an Indian cultural flavour overlaid on that. But it's
Best of both
absolutely
worlds.
best of both worlds, absolutely, and it is that bridge, and we see it as a bridge, a catalyst, whatever language you want to use for the partnership. So we're really excited.
We will also play cricket.
In the hallway.
We will have our faculty coming in here and teaching, and
Yes.
we will employ faculty
Yes.
here
Yes.
onto Deakin. So it's sort of doing that.
So a mixture
A
there.
mixture.
Yes. So 80% locally employed, 20% Indian Australia based, but all of the Indian based faculty will still have an affiliation to their home school back in Australia. So again, you are feeling part of Deakin, not just in a standalone post.
There will be local faculty, locally recruited.
Yes,
They
locally
will be
recruited.
part of Deakin
Yes.
faculty club.
Employed
Yes.
by Deakin, based
They
here.
will be there, go for there.
And in our business model, this teaching schedule is identical. The goal is to make it as transportable as we possibly can. And again, that's quite a different model for an international branch campus.
And 20% coming from Deakin to
Yes.
India.
Yeah. So we already have a lot of staff coming in teaching in our hub models already. So this is just an extension of that cultural. We talked this morning about that link in the university between India and Australia.
Ask the overseas university.
Yes.
It is so exciting.
It is.
And also, it does come together with our 30 years in India.
Yes.
So it's a big milestone for Deakin.
So we couldn't be prouder. And I know when we met last September and you challenged us, are you going to do it? We took the challenge on.
But Minister, you did that was after your visit to
Yes.
Australia. So it has started from that point.
Yes.
And I think
From September, just exactly 1 year.
Yes.
exactly 1 year.
Yes.
We have a campus already
Yes.
ready.
I mean, anyone who says universities are slow and bureaucratic hasn't worked with innovative Australian universities like Deakin and Wollongong.
And if we were here in June, what would this site have looked like?
Nothing. This was just dirt.
When did I visited this area last time? 3 months back.
Yes.
3 months back,
Yes.
it was not there.
Yes.
3 months back, our MD told me, because this is the place for the decant. Nothing, some primary structure was there.
It was just those
Frame. Top of the frame,
Yeah.
not the full
not the full frame.
warehousing.
But all the way through, I just want to call out Tapanraya and the GIFT team, the regulator team, the education team. We've experienced New India all the way through this. It's been a partnership where there have been bumps. There's been a very rapid recognition that we need to smooth the bump, and both sides have worked collegially to do that all the way through. And that's just been incredible. We couldn't have done it without that. So thank you.
Thank you.
What are the plans? I can do that. It's easier than picking up.
And this is going to go into the atrium of the building. The plants will be
Say, innovation. When you did.
थोड़ा पाछળ
Wrap me in for 2 minutes in front of the trees.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'm just going to move the tree so it's not an extension of your.
Okay, fine.
So
Let's
put
start.
the tree
Yeah.
somewhere outside.
नहीं नहीं रुको रुको.
We're going to have an entry.
Yeah, inside.
Sir, just a minute. Photo. Yes, yes. Yes, sir.
Teach them the cyber security also.
सर थोड़ा पाछળ
Mix and mingle space. The incubator company space that we won't control, but we're very pleased with this
What
incubator
is the
company.
square meter square feet?
25,000.
25,000 square meter.
Incubator on this side, ground floor. Us, ground floor, and all the way upstairs. So.
Our timeline to then is
बस आटला સુધી જ જાય આગળ નહીં જાય.
Student entrance will be there. That will jump. How far? 5 minutes. Yes, yes. Yeah, the weather thing.
लोग लगेंगे ना, परमानेंटली स्किल लोग लगेंगे, आएंगे जाएंगे, और इसमें जो काम करके जाएगा वो देश में कहीं भी
શનિ રાય
Dream comes because my all children kids is studying in Boston now.
સાઈડ માં
Having been at
આવી જાય.
Okay. And he's Minister Pradhan.
એક જ મિનિટ હમણાં ઉભા રહી જાય. એમને જવા દો.
દીપ પ્રાગટ્ય કરશે.
હા આમાં
સાઈડમાં
સર ધીસ વે સર હેન્ડલ આપો. હા હા લાવ હેન્ડલ
બસ આટલું જ રહેજો, ઊભા ના થતા હવે.
ગ્રુપ ફોટો લઈ સર. So I can give you whole floor, whole building. Yes.
Thank you, sir. આરામથી કરો, આરામથી કરો.
Yes, sir. आपके प्रदेश से. He recognized from his region. Thank you. Inshallah.
Especially designing one part of the state. I have my own design. My state has a lot of design.
Davidson. I have the honour and privilege of being the Vice Chancellor of the University of Hong Kong. It's a wonderful occasion in the presence of our Honourable Education Ministers with their lecture, IFSCA colleagues, colleagues from Deakin who are going to be our neighbours and collaborators, and also with my Vice Chancellor colleagues, Universities Australia, Australia India Foundation and dignitaries. Here is our building. It's hard to imagine that very soon we will have 1,000 students in that building, but when we see what IFSCA has achieved with Deakin, we know that will be very possible. We will be starting in this building, taking 2 floors, and with plans to expand. Artistically, we will be bringing aspects of Australian art and culture, as well as Indian culture. All of our campuses all have wallabies. So next time you come, you'll go in and you will see bronze wallabies. And again, I just really wanted to thank so many people who have helped us create reflects education. And I think each and every one of us here believe in the transformative power of education for good. And welcome, and I look forward to great things to come. Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
That one.
That's it. We see the future of India, but we also see the future of India and Australia's great friendship and our great relationship. I want to thank the IFSCA team, the Gift City team, for all of their great work collaborating with Team Australia. And I want to thank Wollongong, I want to thank Deakin for the leadership that you have done. Australia and India have been great friends over a long period of time. And I spoke yesterday about 450 formal agreements between our universities. Over the last 20 years, more than 400,000 Indian students have made their way from India to Australia to study at Australian universities. And come January, it'll be 30 years since Ian Deakin has been here in India doing many different things. But this is the first time that we've done this. This is the first time that we have campuses here in India. It's the first university in the world, first international university in the world. And that is a sign of the regard with which Australian higher education is regarded in India. And I want to pay tribute not just to Wollongong and Deakin, but to all of my higher education friends and colleagues from Australia who are here today, and thank them for everything they do. It's also a sign of the strength and the depth of the relationship between our two great countries. And as I said before, behind me I see the future. Not just campuses, not just courses, but campuses. And over the course of just months, we'll turn commitments into concrete. Finally, can I thank my great friend Devendra Pradhan. To pull something off like this, it requires a team effort. It requires all of us to work together. Universities, regulators, but it also takes vision and leadership. This is Prime Minister Modi's great vision. The idea of a new India with business and education together, looking out to the world. But I know, Devendra, that this is your vision as well. And a large part of why we are here today, not on a site with just sort of grass and bushels, but why we see a building being built before our eyes is because of you, because of your leadership. And I'm honoured to count you as a friend, and I'm so glad that we could come together for the second time this year, the third time in 18 months, to be able to work together and see this vision come to life.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Your Excellency, Assistant Education Minister, Mr. Playa, our High Commissioner, Mr. Philip, senior officials from Australia and India, Vice Chancellor and other important educationists of Australia, welcome to the new India, rightly said by my friend Mr. Playa. Friends, just see the speed of India's development. 4 months back, I was crossing across this road. My dear friend Kapande showed me that these are the new sites of the new universities, Wollongong and Deakin. And there is a history. When I visited in August, Madam Vice Chancellor met me. I also met the Vice Chancellor of Deakin. I teach him, can you come to India? Madam, he is more faster than you. And I'm requesting all of you. Now India has a new sets of regulation for opening up foreign university in India. And as we discussed yesterday, there are 400 engagements in the different institutions in Australia and India. I hope we should go more than 1,000 in the next 2 years. And we should do research on the basic need of humanity. And this Wollongong University and Deakin University has long association with India. But it is a new field for both countries. It's never before this kind of university were open, physical campus were open in India. And this photo, the diagram of the emerging university, emerging Australia and emerging India, this shows our relationship. Rightly, Mr. Playa said, we are just in front of the future. And congratulations to both the university. But my two sincere request will be there, what I requested you at other campus, cricket and startups.
Yes.
And Prime Minister Modi has a vision to build this point as a global economic hub. And I strongly believe education is the mother of all departments. We do mothership of all the verticals of the life. So university is the right place to envision the idea. Congratulations. Next time, either I will study here or I will take a class here.
physical manifestation of that, which is the new campus building on site, which is well on its way for completion in December of this year. We also have announced today the opening of formal recruitment for the two programs we're going to start with, Masters in Cybersecurity and a Masters in Business Analytics. Those are two programs that are directly linked to the skills needs of this area, this community, but also more globally. It's a modest beginning, but it is a very important beginning for what we're about. Those two programs are milestones because alongside Wollongong, this will be the first time in history that Indian students will be studying for an overseas degree in an overseas campus based in India. Truly momentous and could not have happened without the laying of the ground in the relationship between the two countries over the last 5, 6, 7 years. So we're really excited about this. It's built off a whole lot of hard work, but most importantly, it's built off partnership and friendship between our two countries.
These two universities, Deakin University and Wollongong University, are the first two international universities to be given approval to establish a standalone campus in India. So that's significant. This is historic. And I think that is evidence of the esteem with which these two universities are held by the Indian government. But it also is evidence of the strength of the relationship between our two countries. We are great friends, very long-standing friends, Australia and India, and this historic moment, the construction of two standalone campuses here in gift city, is built on strong foundations over many, many years. Ian, your university, Deakin University, will celebrate 30 years in India in January. But this is the first time that an international university has been given approval to set up a standalone campus. And that's important both for the development of Gift City, to help develop the skilled workers to help Gift City to emerge from the ground, not just the buildings, but the people and the businesses that will be inside, but also to help to implement and make real the national education policy of India, which is this big, bold, audacious plan to skill up the Indian people. That means more people finishing school, more people going to vocational education, more people going to university. And Australia feels very honoured to be able to play a role in implementing the national education policy. And we do that in a number of ways, one of which is standalone campuses. But not just that, it also involves the work we do with supporting the development of dual degrees or twin degrees, where a student can get a degree from two universities at the same time, can spend 2 years in India and 2 years in Australia. It also involves Indian students travelling to Australia to study in Australia. And it also involves deepening the research collaboration between our two great countries and the universities in both. The fact is that not every young person in India will be able to afford to travel to Australia to study. And Ian and Prisha, you both made the point today that this will enable Indian students to study at an Australian university in India for half the price that it would cost to travel to Australia and pay for the course there and to live in Australia, which is a more expensive place to live. So this is a win-win. It's a win for India. It's a win for Indian students to enable more students to study at an Australian university. And it's a win for Australia in our partnership with India, and a win in particular for these two great universities.
If I could also add, this is really part of access and equity, which is an agenda that Minister Clare has been really driving in Australia. And I just think that's so important to contribute to not just national productivity, but for social cohesion and societal participation. So I think this builds on initiatives that Minister Clare is leading in Australia to make sure that every individual has the access to an education. And I know that is a vision that is shared by Minister Devendra and Prime Minister Modi.
Thank you. My name's Philip Green. I'm the Australian High Commissioner in India. There are many very good things in the bilateral relationship between Australia and India. You will all have seen the images of our two Prime Ministers together, both in India and in Australia, demonstrating their personal warmth and their commitment to a stronger relationship. You will all know that in the strategic domain there's a new level of alignment between Australia and India in our shared home, the Indo-Pacific. You will know that there is great opportunity between Australia and India in the business sector. Our countries are very different. You have a lot of people, we have a lot of land, we have a lot of energy, we have a lot of resources, a lot of critical minerals, things that will be crucial for India's pathway to success. There's also the wonderful thing in our bilateral relationship that we call the human bridge. The nearly 1 million people of Indian origin who now live in Australia. That's nearly 4% of our population. They make a big contribution to our nation building. There's all those good things, but there's no single one element that is better than the partnership in education, which is today breaking new ground. Today, Australia is delivering. Our Minister has returned for the second time this year, to sit with his counterpart and drive the openings in our bilateral relationship. 4 new partnerships have been signed between Australian and Indian universities, and crucially, historically, these 2 universities have unveiled what will be their new campuses. It's a big day for Australia and India, and I'm very proud as High Commissioner to be part of it.
Professor Martin, could you please share details on the faculty recruitment and also the dean recruitment now, since the applications are open today?
So we are now, having got to this point, we are absolutely in the let's recruit the students and let's bring the staff into Deakin India. So the senior roles are absolutely in the finalisation of being appointed. I'm not going to go into the details of individual appointments, but one of the first things I did on this trip was do the final interviews for the 2 key administrative and academic leads for the institution. Following on from that, we will start the academic recruitment. Around 80% of the teaching staff will be locally engaged in India, and around 20% of the capability will come from staff in Australia coming to GIFT City. So we're well on the way now. We've laid out a ambitious strategy, ambitious timeline. We've delivered everything today. We will deliver on that. We've now got to that point, and with the announcement of recruitment into the programs formally today, everything starts. So this is now public for the first time in this process, which is again a really exciting day.
Professor Patricia, could you please talk about the campus?
Yes, so we have at the moment 2 floors of 1,100 square metres on each floor in a 20-storey building with options to increase. We're just being prudent, just watching and seeing how recruitment will go. But we're very excited to see that campus coming to life. And today was great to see the excitement of even just the building crew of being part of that.
This would be a rental space?
This will be a rental space, yes, we're renting.
And when are you opening the applications for students?
January 2024.
And same faculty recruitment?
Yes, same faculty recruitment. Like Deakin, we have a strong commitment, as in our other global campuses, of not having a fly-in, fly-out model. There will be staff on the campus. We've currently got some administrative staff helping to develop it, but we're also in the process of faculty recruitment.
And the same concept would be there as in like 80-20, or there is a different model?
About the same thing. Also, we'll be kind of leveraging some of our staff from Dubai. We have a very strong sort of fintech as well, and there's a huge Indian diaspora in Dubai, and many of them are very excited about this. I mentioned earlier, I think one of the great things has been the excitement within that global Indian diaspora of these universities coming. I'm sure Professor Martin is similarly getting many emails from people saying, look, I want to come, and I think many, and the majority of those people are Indian, so that's exciting.
So my question is to His Excellency, it has been talked that education is the this can be the base for a vibrant partnership between the both countries. So, what do you see coming in the future? Like, what are the possible areas that we can get into partnerships and can both be valuable?
Well, there's any number of areas that are prospective, but let me nominate a few. Australia's the largest producer of lithium, that critical element in the world. India is on track to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, producers of electric vehicles and electric batteries on the planet. I'd dearly love to see a strong supply chain between Australian critical minerals and battery manufacture in this country. And let me say, part of that pathway will be research. And we've challenged our university leaders to be part of that journey. Australia has some of the best solar technology. We're not the sort of country, we're the sort of country that's going to use a lot of solar panels, but it wouldn't be natural for us to produce them. Your country is a country that can produce vast amounts of solar panels at relatively high cost, low cost, potentially with a lot of our technology. I'd very much like to be part of that supply chain. We see huge opportunity in the growth of the Indian economy and the way in which Australian high-quality goods and services can feed into them. We're already seeing that as a result of our first phase free trade agreement, the ECTA, which is allowing it to be more easy for Australian high-quality fruits and vegetables, Indian foodstuffs and manufacturers to make their way to Australia. So there are many strong sectors where we have big opportunity. There's no stronger than education. And education is actually an enabler for many of the other sectors of prosperity. I don't know whether the Minister wanted to add to that at all. I think, High Commissioner, your point about enabling is really pertinent. The Indian Education Minister, Dharmendra Pradhan, describes education as the mother portfolio, the portfolio that makes everything else possible. Think about your own life, about your own education. Sort of go back in the time machine to being at school and then think about going to university. Our own experiences, our own time in education is what has taken us to this point today, to be in this room, to do these roles. Without education, we can't achieve everything that we would hope and desire to do in our own lives. Now, think about what that means for a nation, to have a more educated population. Australia is a different country today than what it was 50 years ago because of education. Those solar panels that you see on roofs in almost every country in Australia, the original technology for that came out of the University of New South Wales. This big planet with billions of people is getting smaller and smaller by the day, and to tackle the sorts of challenges that exist in India or in Australia, we can't do it on our own. We do it by working together, by educating each other, by thinking together, by researching together. And so, whether it's more students being able to study at an Australian university here, or being able to do some of their degree in Australia, or by having joint PhD observation, or for that matter, the Maitri scholarships which we announced yesterday, $11 million of Australian government money to help the best and brightest young Indians to travel to Australia to complete their PhDs and their master's degree. All of that helps make the magic of education possible, the outputs of education, to be able to create the next version of those solar panels that were created those years ago at the University of New South Wales. It's what happens in our universities today that creates the future that we will live in tomorrow. To reimagine today and to rethink what tomorrow might be. Just imagine the young people that are going to come out of these universities and what they will do. As impressive as all these buildings are, what's more impressive is the young people that will come out of these institutions and the changes that they will make for India and for the world.
One more question.
Yeah, one more question.
Yes. How many students is studying in to both campus starting?
Well, that's always a magic question. We're probably hoping for 150 in the first cohort, but sort of quickly going up to around 1,100.
Yeah. And for Deakin, it's not too much difference, 100 to 150 in the first year, but growing with ambition after that. But the numbers to us matter less than delivering this at the level of quality and the level of engagement that we feel rightly proud of. So we want to grow, but at a pace that enables us to keep the very things that make a Deakin education special.
Mr. Clare, this question is for you. With the recent souring of relationships between India and Canada, and looking at the number of students going to Canada for studies and all, so do you think Canada's loss could be Australia's gain?
I won't make any comment about the relationship between India and Canada. I will speak only of the relationship between Australia and India. And it has never been stronger. As I said, it is built on strong foundations. It's built on the work that universities like Deakin have done here for 30 years. It's built on prime ministers and businesses and universities that have worked together over a long, long period of time. It's built on a history that's longer than that. When I was in Delhi in March, Dharmendra Pradhan took me to a place where there are columns that were presented as gifts to the Indian government by Australia and by the UK and Canada and other countries, but one by Australia. And the Australian who presided over the laying of that column was a man called Monash, a very famous Australian, famous general in World War I, a great Australian. So great, a university is named after him, and the acting Vice-Chancellor at Monash is here with us today. And he took me there to remind me that the relationship between Australia and India is not new, that it goes back decades. And it reminded me that the first Indians to come to Australia weren't those students that have come over the last 2 decades. The first Indians that came to Australia came back over 100 years ago. And some of those young Indian men who became labourers, farmers, went off to war in World War I and fought and died in an Australian uniform. And there are memorials to those men in Australia today. And I say that just to remind us all that this is not new, that this friendship is long-standing, that the work that we do together is built on those foundations of friendship and mutual interest. Australia and India both want to work together in many, many areas, and the High Commissioner has pointed to some of those today. But there's no better area than in education for what it does for individuals, but also for what it does for nations. And that's why I'm so glad to be back here today.
And when should we expect your next visit to India?
Well, the next...
No. Yeah,
That's okay. I'll answer this. The next meeting of the Education and Skills Council will happen in Australia next year. So now the responsibility is on my shoulders to think about how I can outdo this.
Can we say early next year?
Early next year. Early next year will be the official opening of Deakin University in January, where we will celebrate 30 years of Deakin in India and hopefully cut a ribbon to celebrate the opening of that campus. Perhaps around vibrant Gujarat would be a perfect time to do that. The next meeting of the Skills Council I expect will be in the second half of next year in Australia.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think it's the key to opening the world.
Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor, for a wonderful presentation that higher education and internationalisation of education offers them, which is at the heart of their words. I would now like to invite the Honourable Minister for Education, Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India, Sri Dharmendra Pradhanji, to make your...
Vice Chancellor, Professor Martin from Deakin University, Vice Chancellor Professor Patricia Davidson, Wollongong University, members of the diplomatic community, senior officials from both the government and our provincial government, Gujarat, eminent academicians from India and Australia, friends from the media, and ladies and gentlemen. Today marks a historic milestone in India's journey in the field of higher education. I stand before you with immense pride and excitement as we celebrate the opening of the campus. Not exactly opening up, the announcement, physical announcement. The Deakin University and University of Wollongong, here in the Gift City. This momentous occasion signifies a giant leap towards the globalizing India's education system, bringing world-class learning opportunities right to our doorstep. Friends, it is said a journey of 1,000 miles began with a single step. Today, we are taking that very step with two very credible Australian universities. Both are 50 years, nearly 50 years old. Both have Indian connection since last 3 decades. And both are physically at India. We are envisioning for the building of the new India. Gujarat is a land of opportunities, a progressive state with vibrant economy, state-of-the-art infrastructure and ease of doing business ecosystem. Gujarat is the leading growth engine of India. The campus of these two Australian universities in Gift City is truly a gift that nation has been looking forward to. It's good that we have got this on the eve of Deepavali. My heartiest congratulations to the student community for receiving this facility. Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister of Australia, both of them, has envisioned to create a new bridge of knowledge by both the countries. Excellencies, the introduction of this foreign university campus perfectly aligned with the vision outlined in the National Education Policy 2020. This transformative policy emphasizes internationalization at home, aiming to create a vibrant, diverse and inclusive educational environment within our own country. With the presence of renowned international institutions, we are seeking to foster rich cultural and academic experience, where students and faculty from different corners of the world will collaborate, learn and grow together. This will not only elevate the quality of education, but also empower our students with global perspective, essentially in today's interconnected world. India's rapidly growing economy is complemented by its sizable young population. The country is with youthful dynamism and is making all efforts to sustain a strong educational and skill ecosystem to harness the potential of our demography. Our nation has been a hub of knowledge since ancient times. Not very far from where we are today, once stood the Vallavi University, a renowned center of learning in the 7th century. It excelled in the teaching subjects such as philosophy, logic, grammar, literature and mathematics. The university was known for its high academic standards and attracted scholars from all over India and abroad also. Guided by such historic examples, today we are taking important policy decisions towards becoming a global education destination yet again. I would also like to thank Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji for his vision and leadership in making this day possible. Under his able guidance, India has made significant progress in expanding access to education and improving the quality of our teaching and learning. Excellencies, internationalization of education is essential for India's future growth and development. It allows our students to access world-class education and research opportunities, and it helps us build bridges with other countries. It also exposes our students to new ideas and perspectives. Apart from preparing them to succeed in the globalized economy, it enhances the country's soft power potential. The world is facing a difficult time with complex challenges such as climate change. It also presents huge opportunities in terms of emergent technologies. These challenges and opportunities require global cooperation and innovation. Education is the developing the skills and knowledge needed to realize the global good. During India's G20 presidency, Honorable Prime Minister articulated this vision of mutual cooperation for shared global prospect. Excellencies, global citizenship is a key focus of our national education policy. The NEP recognized that in India's interconnected world, it is essential for students to develop the knowledge, skills and value necessary to active and engage global citizens. By educating students to be global citizens, India is preparing them to succeed in the 21st century globalized world and to contribute towards building a better future for all. Today, we may not be able to fathom the wider impact of the grand futuristic decision that we have taken today. I am sure the exchange of knowledge, ideas and experience between Indian and international students will create a vibrant learning ecosystem. It will prepare our students to face the challenges of the future, equipping them with skills and art that are not only relevant locally but also globally. Let us embrace this moment as we step into a future where the boundaries of education knows no limit. Together, let us embark this transformative journey towards a brighter and more enlightened tomorrow. A great future beckons our young students. Let the era of global education in India begin. My best wishes to all of you. Thank you, friends.
Boston in the United States. My youngest is hopefully at childcare today. Long way away from here in Australia. He's only 2 years old. I'm in charge of a higher education system in Australia which educates around 1 million Australians today. You're in charge of a higher education system which is educating 40 million people at the moment. The school education system in Australia has in it today just over 4 million young Australians. There are something like 260 million young Indians at school today. We're very different countries, we have very different challenges, but we have a shared vision. We both understand the inherent power of education to change lives. And we see that vision being made real today. I said yesterday was a historic day. That historic first Australia-India education and skills. And the roadmap that we released yesterday has set us on a path for the future. But today, not far from here, we saw history being made. We saw history being made real, brick by brick. I said out at the site where that Wollongong campus is emerging from the ground, that Australia and India have a long and deep relationship. These new campuses are being built on strong foundations. Lots of research partnerships. Hundreds of thousands of Indians who have made their way to Australia over the last 2 decades to study and to come back and bring those skills back here to build the new India. And Ian, you make the point that you have been here for 30 years doing this work here in India, but we've never done this. What we're doing here is something new. We are building a new future and we are doing it together. It's not just students coming to Australia, it's Australian universities coming to India, not just operating courses, but building and operating campuses. It is a physical example of our friendship. And Devendra, when you came to Australia last year, you issued a challenge to Australian universities. You talked about the national education policy. You've spoken about it again today. The sheer audacity of it, the transformational power of it. I suspect a lot of people in India, like a lot of people in Australia, and I think you made the point yourself, thought this cannot happen. But we see it being happening. We see it happening. We see it being made real. And what Deakin is doing, what Wollongong is doing, is a small contribution to it. The fact is that not every Indian student can afford to come to Australia to go to university in Australia. What this enables is for Indian students to study at an Australian university here in India for half the price. And that's a win-win. But what it also enables is something else that's very important right here in Gujarat, because it helps to supercharge the development of Gift City. You see those high-rises emerging from the ground as I drove in today. You can only imagine what that will be like in 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 years' time. I think you can imagine what that would be like. And Mr. Tapan Ray, you told us today that there's something like 20,000 people working in Gift City today. The majority of those in business and finance and accounting. And that you expect that every 3 years that number will double. That means something like 100,000 people working in Gift City by the end of this decade. Now think of the decade after that. Those people only get those jobs with the sort of skills that are produced in universities. Universities like Deakin, universities like Wollongong, and those that will follow. These buildings are important, but what is more important are the people inside of them who get that life-changing power of education, that nation-changing power of education. That's what the NEP is all about, and we are so grateful that we can play a small role in partnership, in friendship with India to help make that real. And I want to thank Patricia, and I want to thank Ian for your leadership, for your courage. It takes courage to be the first, to be a pathfinder, and you are. And I want to thank you for it. I want to thank the whole entire Australian delegation that has joined me on this, my second trip to India this year. Can I ask all of the Aussies in the room to stand up? Yes, because it shows that we heard you, that we understand that the opportunity for our two countries to work together has never been greater. The stars are aligning. India and Australia want to work together at every level, in every industry. But there is no better place for us to start than in education. And today is a great day, because today is an example of where we see words turn into action. Thanks very much.
I would ask the two ministers to please make your way out and across the room, across the way for your media, a short meeting in minutes. And I would like to invite all of you to please, once the ministers and dignitaries have left, to please follow and join us for lunch.
Education have no boundaries, and Australia-India Education and Skill Counselling is proving in a better way. The opening of 2 Australian universities to GIFT City, Gandhinagar, will impact the education